I thought Ultimate Slayer would be a good middle ground between Dark Ruler No More and Forbidden Droplet, because Ultimate Slayer can still allow you to OTK. It doesn't have the massive, cost of discarding a card if with Forbidden Droplet, and yeah, I thought it could be good for like mid-range boards, but it really wasn't. I find myself using Dark Ruler No More way more. So first, let's talk about the good of Ultimate Slayer. So it targets extra deck monsters, which a good thing is that 90% of boards use extra deck monsters as interruptions, and yeah, if they're gonna set up an Appaloosa, what's it called, Baron, you can just remove it. And it's also especially good with non-hard once per turn negates, especially like Appaloosa and Notoria Beast, because your opponent cannot respond with monster effects, and because monster effects are 90% of the time, monster effects are the way of interruption. Ultimate Slayer is really not gonna be negated unless someone drops the old man. So yeah, Solemn Judgment. And it also beats mid-range board. So yeah, if you're playing against Sword Soul, you can literally just remove their Baron away. You can remove their Chi-Xiao if they're doing Chi-Xiao Blackout Pass. Yeah. And again, the cost isn't too high. It's like Dogmatica Punishment, but non-destruction. I already mentioned it, you can OTK. Your opponent can still take damage, and you don't require discard. Now, the problem with Ultimate Slayer is that it can't really deal with big boards. So yeah, of course you can't really deal with big boards, but most of the time when there's a big board, you can't really remove it. When there's a Borreload, Savage, Appaloosa, you kind of have a dead card. I mean, you don't have a dead card, but you still have to deal with a bunch of interruptions still. Unlike Dark Ruler, which will just like delete the board, and you're probably saying, okay, just OTK, but you can't OTK with Dark Ruler No More. Yes, but the thing is that you'll OTK next turn, because if you wipe the board and your opponent has no recursion, which happens like 90% of the time because they've already spent all their gas making that one big board. Like if a Sword Soul player goes into Chi-Xiao Baron or what's his name, Chengying Qixing Pat, sorry, long one Qixing Pass, they're not really gonna have recursion. Or like even other boards, like if you have a Sprite board, someone makes a Sprite deck, they won't, unless they save this stuff like Starter, if they save I don't know, Swap Frog, whatever. If they don't save resources, you're better off with Dark Ruler, because you just kill them next turn. And if you set up a board with enough interruptions to just stop them from playing, you'll just win anyway. But probably the most important part about Ultimate Slayer is it can't deal with non-extra deck monsters like Sprite boards. The thing with Sprite boards is that Sprite boards, their negates come from Red and Carrot, and they're not exactly extra deck monsters, and the only extra deck monster they're gonna have is like what's it called, Sprite Jet. Wait, sorry, not Sprite Jet, no, Sprite Elf. Yeah, they're only gonna have a Sprite Elf, and that's it. Like maybe they'll have an IP, and sure, you could bounce the IP, but it's like I don't think that's worth it at all. And you can just Dark Ruler No More the entire board. It also can't deal with something like Exo Sisters. What was the one? Magnifica. Yeah, it can deal with like Magnifica, I forgot Returnia. Yeah, Magnifica, Returnia Pass. But if they drop something like Vadis, like, bro, if you're playing like Sword Soul and you have to banish a card from your graveyard, they're gonna get into their Xyz, they're gonna get into their Xyz forms, which can really punish you if you have a small board and you're trying to build it up with whatever. And now its strength is kind of not good enough. As I mentioned, it can deal with like mid-range boards, like Baron, Baron, something like Baron, something like Appaloosa. But those cards can basically be dealt with a simple imperm. You imperm the Baron, either they're gonna imperm that or they're not. Sorry, no, they're gonna respond with Baron or not. If you negate with Appaloosa, you're gonna get way more out of your imperm than anything. And something like Savage Dragon is a once per turn negate. So once you negate it, it's already done. Like you'll just trade a 1-for-1 for something like Imperm. And Imperm is also not a hard once per turn, so you can just keep activating so long as you don't have a card on the field. And a benefit with Imperm is that even if you can't use it to break boards, you can set it on your field and use it as interruption. Ultimate Slayer, you can only use it as a board breaker and nothing else. And I did say it didn't feel like it had a lot of cost, but it actually does have a lot of cost. It comes in the form of extra deck space. With your extra deck space, you're going to be forced to run one of each type of extra deck monster, which means if you were running something like Sword Soul, yes, can you tell I'm a Sword Soul player? You're gonna have Synchro and Lynx, but you're also gonna need Xyz and a fusion monster, so you're gonna have to like reduce like to your extra deck spaces, and that really limits you on what you can subtract. And if you're playing something like a mono extra deck type archetype, like like say Sky Striker, you're only gonna have Lynx, so what are you're gonna have to cut a bunch of stuff out for in order to get in order to activate your Ultimate Slayer. And so yeah, I thought Ultimate Slayer was good. Yeah, it's not. Just use Dark Ruler no more. Even if you can't kill on the first turn, or sorry, the turn you activate Dark Ruler no more, just wipe the board, set up a board that can have interruption, like Chisha Baron Pass, Chisha Baron Blackout Pass. That's basically enough to interrupt your opponent's next turn, because if they make a big board, they're not gonna have enough gas because they already like spent all of it, and you can just build another board, put enough interruptions to just stop your opponent from playing, and then you'll basically just win. Just OTK on your turn. There you go. And yeah, that's gonna be it for me. Hope the video was informative, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.